Hello everybody. It's really funny because I feel, at least in person in the mirror, that my hair is low maintenance. But on YouTube everything appears a little bit different, and so I always think I've been thinking about just my hairstyles and how maybe I need to do a little bit more because there'll always be this little random hair. So don't mind that. um, Welcome. I wanted to talk today about 3 signs you should leave your nonprofit job, and whether or not you're working in a nonprofit job or some other type of kind of, goal-oriented, mission-oriented position, and whether you're there now or you already have left. I hope that this can be validating because I think a lot of the times what is normal in these atmospheres, we can feel like the only person, which I guess already goes to my first point. So I just hope that this is validating for people to really connect into your truth of your experience. Sign number 1 is that you are the only one in your office that feels like what is normal here isn't normal. And so what I talk a lot, I love Gabor Mate, and something in his most recent book, The Myth of Normal, he talks a lot about how our culture is the result of trauma. And I know when I was doing my own and I am doing my own healing work, I can think, oh, these things, I wish that I had received that, these needs, right, and how that affects me now and how I have to now heal them. And then the more that I talk to other people, the more that I realize that trauma is pretty much across the board, at least in the United States, I'm sure in the world. Most people didn't get didn't have the healed elders to go to that can then help us create really regulated nervous systems, be able to, speak, have conflict, things like that. And so that reflects itself in the workplace and in everything we do, right? So the point here is that even when we're working through these things and we're in a place where we can see these things within ourselves, we may also be able to see them around us. That this atmosphere that I'm working in, these norms aren't really norms that I want to live by, and I feel a little bit crazy that everyone else wants to live with these norms and I don't, and so this is just to validate that you're not crazy. And a lot of the norms that are even in nonprofit work or other mission-driven organizations, honestly, I think this is an issue across the board, are not normal and can be unhealthy. And so there's so much to this, but a lot of the times, the baggage that we have in all the areas of our lives, the trauma, if we can't have conflict, that's going to come into the workplace. And so that's why I personally advocate a lot for us all being kind of on our own healing journeys and realizing and being really rooted in that that's going to actually help our work. And if we are people who are the healer, helper archetype, who are here with a mission, how important it is for us to do our own healing work and to be on our own healing journey so that then we can actually do the best work, right? Because if I have this tendency from my childhood to get attention by being the perfect daughter, and I get everything done perfectly, and so then I always need that kind of attention and that feedback at work, right? Or I can't have anyone help me ever, then I'm going to actually end up doing worse work because we're all human and we're not going to be good at everything. And so I really believe that as a society we should be moving more to these our ancestors that really lived with the land, that lived more communally, more egalitarianly in more egalitarian ways. And how does that look like in the workplace? And it's working more together. It's seeing that we're good at things and we're not good at things. It's admitting when we're not good at things. It's not just brushing over atmospheres that are toxic or unhealthy, or actions that are unhealthy, and just never taking responsibility, right? It's as a community, as a organization, we're trying to work through these things together. And so I'm not trying to advocate for this kind of utopia, right? But when we feel like the only person in our organization that is feeling like these things that are happening are not normal, what happens is we're not on the kind of the same path. We don't have the same goals as the people that we're working with, because those people maybe aren't in a place to work on those things yet. And so maybe we want to build our own organizations, or find organizations where we can actually start to try to work through these things together. We all have the goal of working more of a community, of taking actual responsibility, and so we can grapple with these things within the organization. So then we have that goal together. Sign number 2 that you should be leaving your nonprofit job is if you feel drained after every day of work, every week of work. If you generally feel drained with work, that is counter popular belief, not a good sign. And there's obviously obvious reasons why that's not a good sign. But even when we zoom out in the big picture of what is best for the world and those that we're serving, it's also not a good sign. And so the reason why it's not a good sign is that means I have the belief, and some people might think that this is kind of a unusual thing to take to, let's say, nonprofit or work conversations, but hear me out. We all have life force energy, right? That's kind of the most common way to say it. Qi in traditional Chinese medicine, and we have like a bank of energy. I like to think of it as a bank of energy. And so when we're constantly depleted, right, and we're using up almost more than the bank that we have, or we're, I know I felt that way a lot. I didn't mention it at the beginning, but I worked as a lawyer at a public defender's office for 3 years. And then before that, during interning. So honestly, I feel like I was in the world for about 6 years. And so it would feel like, let's say if I had a bank, and I think a bank is a good analogy because you can also go into debt at the bank. So it felt like I would use my reserves completely, and then maybe I would get a tiny bit, and then I would use that again, and a tiny bit, and I use that again. And a lot of the times the things that I was using it on with that tiny bit were things that I wasn't necessarily thrilled about. I didn't necessarily like doing. There was a lot of administration stuff. I didn't really like doing that. A lot of kind of, politics. I really am not good at that at all. I advocate a lot for us all bringing our own medicine. So my path isn't necessarily your path, but for me, it was very draining. So just paying attention to what's draining. And the amount that it was draining didn't feel like the impact was helping my clients, or there wasn't a good, let's say, ratio, right? So if something is really draining me or taking a lot of my energy, I would hope that then it's really helping my clients. So then there's a good ratio. I think there's some term for that, but I'm not remembering. So, but it wasn't that way. It was very draining for me, and it felt like the impact positive for my clients was very, very minimal. Right? And so we want to think about our life force as this creative energy within us, right? And why I'm so passionate about these conversations is I feel that there's so much creative energy out there that we all have, that, a lot of us from a young age, we knew we wanted to help people. We felt that calling. And it's just not being utilized. That life, it's like if you imagine all of our life force together, because of the current systems don't work, it's just all of this wasted energy that's not really being utilized to the full degree, right? And if we're doing all of these tasks and we're getting really bogged down by the current systems, that it's just zapping our energy and the output is very, very minimal. We have to really ask ourselves if that feels like the right way to use our energy. And so I really am passionate, this could be a whole thing in itself, of us figuring out how to best utilize our creative energy, right? And that's a question. And so it's not necessarily that for all of us, that means we have to work outside of the systems completely. That might not be the right answer for you. But having enough energy, right, to actually, like, preserving some energy to, one, be able to go inward and reflect, what is the best thing for me to do, right? What am I being called to do? What is my dream work? And then second, to have the energy to really try to find more even ratios, right? And so I know for me, I've been really feeling the truth of using that energy in a more creative way rather than fighting within systems that don't want to change. And so that might be different for each person, right? It might even just be, okay, I need to fix the ratio by asking for more help with work, trying to find an organization that allows me to do more of the work that I like and do a little bit less of the work that's super, super draining for me. That might be a way that you can balance out your life force, right? And so then when the excess that you have, you can be utilizing that to push forward, right? Because what happens is, in our nonprofits, in the systems, we're kind of in a hamster wheel. Everyone's doing the same thing and it's not really getting us anywhere further, right? So we have to do things differently. And so for us to do something different, we really have to build those kind of life force reserves at the bank so that we can really have the energy to break the mold, because that is not easy and it takes a lot of energy. And it can be something as simple as utilizing that energy to really, as a woman, go for a top leadership position that I know there's gonna be a lot of pushback because they're not used to having someone like me. I'm young, or I'm gonna do things really differently, and so because of that there's gonna be some pushback. So that's gonna take a reserve of energy. And so we wanna have boundaries and preserve the things that are draining us so that we can build that bank to do that thing, or that thing could be leaving the organization, creating a new one, or something that's, it could be the same, or it could be solving an issue that we often see as a problem at work. So I know in public defense, I felt very passionately that there's a lot of people with mental illness that are not getting any type of treatment or cutting edge treatment at all. A lot of the even addiction treatments felt like they were totally out of touch with science and just modern research at all. And so that's something that I feel like I would be passionate about helping with, those types of organizations on a more proactive way of how can we create organizations that are really tackling these issues, so then they don't have to end up we can try to stop people who are coming to the criminal justice system, or we can try to create alternatives to it that are actually helpful for people, right? There's so many creative solutions out there. And so it's allowing us to tap into, where can I be pulled to? And it could be something completely different. Like, actually, I think what we need is community. And so I want to create a community garden, and I want to use that as my life force energy. So really thinking about that. So number 3, I guess this all kind of, they all kind of go into it. They're all related, which isn't surprising. But the third point is, you are unable to take care of yourself. I kind of already went into this, but taking care of yourself is vital for connecting with your intuition, your inner truth, your heart, your purpose. And so you're not going to be able, if you're on the hamster wheel, which also, it's kind of funny, it's not surprising, especially if you worked in nonprofit world. There's this nonprofit, I like to call it the nonprofit industrial complex, You know, it is obviously because of the way the donors work and everything. There is a relationship with capitalism, of course, right? And so capitalist work habits definitely go into our work as well. If you work at a more traditional nonprofit, you could be working at a different community organization. That might be a whole other thing. But our culture is in the US is totally intertwined with capitalism, so it's going to go into our work no matter what we're doing, unless we're undoing that within ourselves. And so with capitalism, you know, there's this, I believe it's almost an intentionally taking us away from our own power, right? And power as in my own truth, my own creative life force, connecting with me and my heart of what I want to do, of making a change, you know. And if they grind us down with the administrative work, and this is all, you know, there might be some people watching this that love admin work, which I love that for you. For me, not so much. I had to admit that within myself. But, or whatever work is that's bogging you down, they can really grind you down with these little tasks, right, to distract us, to make us busy, or whatever. Have us do all these hours of work. I thought it was very funny because in the public defender's office, there was just so much less funding than the prosecutor's office. And in my experience, at least in criminal court, we had to do a lot more work because they didn't have to review all of the cases. And so, you know, how is that grinding us down so that we can't do good work, right? We can't do good work or the best work that's possible. And then we also can't connect with ourselves of being able to see the problems, work strategically, work from a place of wholeness so I can actually bring creative solutions. Because the way for us to access those parts of our brain, even on a scientific level, have to be coming from a place of we can't be in continual depletion and continual dysregulation. We will not access those parts of our brain if we're not have a place of nervous system. We're going to be in survival, right? And how is survival going to make us ever help us ever do our best work? It's not. You know, and there can be, it's funny because in our work culture, we can praise people who are doing things so differently that we kind of start to believe maybe that is true. Maybe I can, you know, be a total workaholic and do good work because it's being so much praised. It's being praised so much. But I just want to say I think with the science, with everything, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't work for me, at least. Someone out there might say it works for them. That's a question, but I just don't believe on a cultural level it's actually going to help us move the needle. Because yes, I can be a workhorse. I can work all of the hours of the day, but am I going to be accessing my most genius work? I don't think so. You know, I think that takes us building up our reserves, building up, going inward, really having a place of reflection to really come up with these genius ideas. So I hope this was helpful. This was so fun for me. Upcoming stuff, I have Dreamers Council. I'm going to be trying to, I'm still kind of testing it out, but my goal is to make this a community that is very regular. So I'm going to try to do it at least once a month, but the meeting that's kind of the first month of doing that is next week on Wednesday, I think, the 21st. And it's all about, there's my Instant Pop. So Dreamers Council is next week on Wednesday, the 21st. And it's all about a space for us who are ready to dream new ways of doing things, us coming together and resourcing ourselves and being in community and also getting past the things that are blocking us so that we can be dreaming new ways of doing things. And that, again, like I said, can be within our organization, but how we can connect our own really life force and heart into our work. So that's next week. And then I have a course that I just launched called Divine Leadership that starts, it closes at the end of this month. It starts in September, the very beginning of September. And it's kind of also all about this stuff of how do we really step into our leadership in these ways in the world, and what are the, getting past all of the kind of having a healing perspective of how we get past the different things. We can work on a specific project during it. There's you get a one-on-one session with me so that we can work on the healing what's blocked. So it's really mixing the healing plus the practical. But the practical, like, we're doing healing so that you can move through the practical stuff, because a lot of the times there's just a lot of layers of things to heal for us to step into that energy. And so the things that I have, and everything is going to be molded for the group, but talking through boundaries, self-esteem, all of these things. So feel free to, or I am welcome subscribers following my work. These are the types of things that I do, and I am doing kind of the purpose work of blending, healing plus purpose-driven work, and so or mission-driven work. So I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye.